It was March of 1854 when the Powhatan, a 600-ton wooden vessel, left Havre, France, carrying close to 300 German immigrants. Their destination, New York City. After traveling for several weeks and nearing the end of their journey, the Powhatan was suddenly caught in a spring-like hurricane blizzard, with temperatures close to freezing. As the Powhatan struggled to keep afloat, the vessel was overcome by massive waves and strong winds, which steered it closer and closer to the Barnegat Shoals. The currents so powerful that the Powhatan eventually lost control, causing the schooner to crash into the shoals and breaking into fragments just 100 yards offshore. The cries of men, women, and children could be heard from a distance as they plunged into the icy water and disappeared, leaving no survivors in this ill-fated month of April. It was this last tragic incident that Dr. Jonathon Pitney's voice was finally heard. He was a country physician who came to this village of Absecon in 1820, and because of his dedication and work in making Absecon Village, which was renamed Atlantic City, a recognizable health resort, Dr. Pitney was then given the title Father of Atlantic City. After this great accomplishment, Dr. Pitney focused his attention on another project, building a lighthouse along the coast of Absecon Beach, but met with opposition until the Powhatan tragedy. That's when Congress finally agreed to appropriate the necessary funds to build one. Construction for the lighthouse began in 1855 and was completed in 1857. The mineral light was then lit, intensified by the Fresnel lens, which brought brightness over the dark sea. Dr. Pitney's dream had finally been realized. The Absecon Lighthouse towers 171 feet and has a focal plane of 167 feet. It has a stone foundation with a timber wood platform and is constructed of massive brick cavity walls. Inside, there is an iron spiral staircase which leads to the top of the tower. There are 228 steps to the platform at the base of the lens, 12 more to the lantern room, for a total of 240 steps. The lighthouse was operated until July 1933 and was sold by Atlantic City to the state in 1966. In September of 1970, the Absecon Lighthouse was placed on New Jersey's Register of Historic Places, and in January of 1971 was placed on the National Registry of Historic Places. Today, the lighthouse is a museum and gift shop. Visitors to the museum will learn about the many functions of the lighthouse and how important the lighthouse keepers were to the ships at sea.
Moved here in 2002 after I retired in Pittsburgh, and saw an ad in the paper. They were looking for, in the spring of 2002, they were looking for somebody to take care of the lighthouse on weekends, the Absecon Lighthouse. And at that point, I believe it had been open to the public after the restoration that they did since 1999. But this building that we're in now had only been open to the public for about 6 months. Our most important artifact that we have is the Fresnel lens that's up there. It's a first order Fresnel lens, and it's the original Fresnel lens that was manufactured specifically for this lighthouse. And there are not many first order lenses that still exist in the lantern of the lighthouse where they originated. So ours is still up there. I've had a couple of interesting experiences. I think the most interesting one was, I think it was the first summer that I was here, and unfortunately I didn't know enough about it to ask enough questions, but there were 3 very elderly women that came in. I think it was a Sunday, and I talked to them for a while. Well, it turns out that when they were little girls, they lived on the street here. And the lighthouse at that time was still an active lighthouse. It was, as you know, decommissioned in 1933. So they were kids, and they would play here. And they knew the keeper. They knew all three keepers. And they had names. I didn't know enough to ask what their names were for them, but they had names for these keepers that identified them by the way the girls saw their personality.